Hi, everybody. I'm so excited for this. Welcome to my one shot using my own system. This is going to be a solo RPG experience utilizing my house system that I always change the name of, and I'm back to the Havoc system, but I kept the simple formula from when I last showed it. So, here is what you guys are looking at down below. It is essentially three things: the character name, their focus, and origin. Think of the focus as their profession, their class, what they're good at nowadays. Their origin is their backstory, something that they came from. Can be vague, but it's just enough to really help out in the story. Now, there is the status. This is practically the only real number you track in my game. I'm using this custom die here, these four hearts, like from Zelda, to represent their condition. It is their status. It represents everything about them: how healthy they are, how well equipped they are. Basically, all the stats rounded up in one known as status. If that reaches zero, character's done. Narratively, something has to happen to save them. As you can see in my notes here, in trouble. Now, this is not my actual, for publication rules. These are my own notes, so it's very simple in description. The Havoc role kind of changed. It is very narrative driven. It's a blend of Ironsworn and Easy D6. So essentially, if the character wants to try something risky, you just roll a D6. If you want to use your focus or origin, you include another D6. That's why there are three D6s here. Well, you would use two. I'll get to that in a second. Another aid is what I call the assist. Now, focus and origin, they are your natural characteristics. I don't see them as an assist. They define you. An assist is something that you're equipped with. Obviously, like Ironsworn, I track inventory abstract. I do not have anything specific. I'm going to assume or believe the character has this thing on them to help them. That is what an assist is. It can be a piece of equipment. It can be their special ability. If this takes place in a superhero comic book style setting, then I can say they have a power. And I'll just note it down for later. That will add a +1 or +2. I'm still debating on that one. As you can kind of tell, this will be kind of a play test for my system, as I always like to finesse it on the go. Then when you do all that, when you roll the dice and you include, if you use an assist, you include the number, it's a flat modifier. It's not an additional D6. You have to roll within those three ranges below. 1, 2 is a failure. 3, 4 is a mix. 5, 6 is a success. That's it. That's the system. There's no combat rules. Everything is narrative and on-the-spot rulings. That is what I want this to be. I want Havoc system to be very simple, something I can have fun with. I can twist it. I can modify it to my ever will. And I hope you guys can give your advice. I want you guys to say, hey, try this next time, or maybe modify that, or maybe scrap that. I want to see how this works in the real world. Well, you get what I'm saying. So, in terms of story, this will be a generic low fantasy parody of Office Space. Kind of. I'm calling it The Adventures of Milton. So we'll be playing as Milton. He is the protector of staplers. That is his focus. So I hope you guys have seen Office Space. I'm assuming you probably have. His origin is books, librarian, statistics, numbers guy. That's just kind of how I perceived Milton in Office Space. He is really, face on the paperwork, computer, book smart, very probably calculative, stuff like that. So that might come in handy. Now, that's all I've started with. The Adventures of Milton, pretty basic. It's not exactly Office Space, fantasy space, nothing like that. It's just something simple for Milton. Milton Wadhams. But what we need to do is figure out where Milton will start. And this will be the entire video. I'm not going to split this up in several episodes. I want this to be one shot for my 1,000 subscriber special, my 1K subscriber special. I want this to be all in one video. So let's get this rolling. Okay, so as I've talked about in a prior video, we got our trusty story dice. Story cubes. This will serve as our oracles, creating the elements in the narrative. And so I got Voyage, Actions, and Classic. I talked about this in an earlier video, like how to use these in your solo RPG experience. Now, let's figure out where Milton is. So I will grab 2 of the Voyage dice, and we'll roll it. So it looks like he's in the mountains. That reminds me of architecture from Asia, Southeast Asia, Japan. It's also in the mountains. And I mentioned this as low fantasy. So magic, practically non-existent. So let's say he is traveling and he passed a landmark. So Milton is traveling. Simple enough. I'll put these back in their little hole. And while he's traveling, he is obviously equipped with his travel bag, backpack. He probably has his favorite book. So he's making his way to somewhere. Now, why is he traveling? Typically, you want to start off a solo RPG in a very chaotic moment. Something that can really pose a challenge for our character. Or as I'm supposed to be calling this, an avatar. That's generally how I want to call this to differentiate from conventional RPGs. Character, avatar. Anyways, let's figure out what's happening here. I'm going to use 2 dice from the classic to interpret what's happening to our Milton. So that looks like obviously it's a sport related item, like a racket almost, and that appears to be a bridge. So he is doing something against another individual. He's passing over a bridge. He's trying to sports. So let's write down, you might not see all my notes here, but I will explain when I'm writing down. Bridge. He's crossing a bridge, and the sport item, I think, is really making him work a little extra. He's probably like me, he's probably on the bigger side. So Milton was a big character, glasses, big bubble, almost like bubble glasses. If I recall, his mustache, almost, and kind of greased hair. So this being low fantasy in the past, Middle Ages, he's not exactly wearing a tie and the, textured polo shirt or button-up shirt. So he is dressed fairly casual, but also warm. If we're traveling through the mountains, he's probably staying warm. But I'm trying to figure out what he's up against in terms of this racket. So let's roll 1 more dice, or let's roll an action die from the moves or action story cubes. And, oh, okay, oh, that's actually coincidental. Those I feel match. Someone is fooling around on the bridge, and he comes across this. So there is some kind of little scuffle going on, and maybe there is 1 or 2 individuals on this bridge who are causing a problem for Milton. Okay, so if we focus on this from a macro perspective, which I talked about in another video, we're not going to get every single nitty-gritty detail. But basically, Milton is going up against 2 others who are, oh, you know what? They demand a tow. This is like from Robin Hood Men in Tights. This is like the scene of Little John. He is on that very, very tiny bridge that Robin Hood can easily just walk around, but in the honor of Little John's efforts, he's going to play along with this. So maybe there's just 2 individuals who think they own this land, demand a tow from Milton. Milton is crossing into an area that is most likely under some fellowship, some family. We can probably take that from Robin Hood Men in Tights. Um, Rottingham, I think was the name of it, and two others. So they are basically guarding the path, and they don't attack. I'm assuming just because of like maybe they're talking and then Milton surprised them. So they demand a tow. They explain that they are um, toll, not tow, sorry, a toll. And they explain that this area is can only be passed if you pay the toll. Now, in my game, you don't track currency, but I'm figuring my character, Milton, is a very smart individual. He probably is good with money. So well, unless he gambles. I don't recall Milton having a gambling issue. Now, at the end of the Office Space, he did use all that money from the check he found before he burnt down Initech. He used it, he blew it off on a hotel. Maybe that's what he's doing. I think Milton is going on vacation from whatever village because he probably stumbled onto some stash of gold. That could probably explain, that can be the reasoning as to why he's going into this very lush green hills, and maybe there's some kind of resort on the top of the mountain. But these two rapscallions are blocking the way. So we have to do our first roll. Let me make sure I keep track of this dice here. This is classic, and these are, oh, that's also classic, and this is action. Okay, so we're rolling up against these two individuals. This could be difficult. So I'm going to obviously use our first die. This represents our attempt at trying to bypass these two individuals. And does this relate to our focus, protector of staplers? Well, we don't know. I'm going to assume that Milton has his stapler on him, his favorite. I don't remember. I don't remember if the joke was a Swingline stapler or the other brand. The Swingline stapler doesn't bind up as much. I think it was Swingline. I could be mistaken, but I'm going to say his favorite brand of stapler is on his person. And he doesn't want to lose it in some kind of, he doesn't want to pay for it. Pay with the stapler. He wants to pay with gold. So he's going to pay, he's going to attempt to negotiate. I think he doesn't want to touch his gold pieces because he's going to save it for the resort. He wants to get up there and he needs to use those gold pieces to pay for festivities, the activities that resort is offering. He got an invite in the mail to come to Mountaintop Resort and enjoy the festivities. It costs blah, blah, blah amount. So he wants to negotiate. He probably says, look, he mumbles to himself. That might be a problem, actually. If I stay in character with Milton, he's going to mumble his way through. So protector staplers, I don't think that's going to be. Maybe he tries to spew some statistics at them, like, likely you're not going to make money off of me. He's going to try to give some BS explanation as to why they should let him pass. We'll try that. I'm going to let that be an origin. Now, the origin, like I said, is just an additional d6. Either of them are additional d6 for now. Again, playtest, we can modify that. So we're doing 2d6, and you choose the higher roll. There is no assist here. This is just Milton talking his way, trying to negotiate his way out of this. Not to pay anything. He says he is on his way up to that resort up there. You can see in the distance. That's a great roll. That's a standard success. So he's able, you basically just choose either dice. This doesn't matter. So he's able to convince these two. Now, what do? Let's see how they react. It was a success. So this action roll, we have to interpret positively. Okay, well, one gets out of the way. Looks like one is busy doing something else, so one gets distracted. But I think they agree. I think this is a positive, like, you know what? All right, fine. We'll let you pass. So this little walking person here represents Milton's able to pass through. Okay, so I'm going to check that off. We pass with no trouble from those two. Let's remember that for next time. Okay, now Milton is making his way up the mountain, and let's roll to see what happens. Let's use 2 classic for this. Okay, a tent, and he gets lost. So he does find a little settlement, but he gets lost. That's the arrows, the directions. He just does not. He gets into, maybe he lost his map or something, but he finds a settlement. So he gets lost, but he does find a settlement. So let's write that down. So Lost. Great show, by the way. And the settlement is probably going to be, judging by that tent, wonder if it's bandits. We might as well make it bandits. I mean, I have to give a challenge here for Milton. So that will be a bandit camp. How original. Bandit camp. So make sure my recording is going well. Okay. Bandit camp. All right, so he stumbles on to a bandit camp. Now, question for the Oracle. Are there any bandits here? That's a 50-50 question. They could be gone. They could be here. They could be near. So what I'll do is use my 2D D100 here. These the percentile. So 50-50 chance. They are not here. It has to be beneath 50. They're not here. So what are they doing? If there's no bandits here, what are they doing? Let's do actions. I'm going to draw. Let's do this one and this one. What are these bandits doing? They are out trying to find something. They're gone. They're struggling to do something. They're going on a typical robbing spree. So that makes sense. Okay. Now, with them being gone, Milton is lost. What would Milton do here? I don't think he would give a damn if he looks for a map or he stocks up or loots these bandits. Knowing Milton from Office Space, I'd say he is a chaotic neutral. Maybe good, but I think it's chaotic. Remember, he burnt down Initech. He was perceived to be very by himself, an introvert, mumbles, but he did speak to Peter. He did talk to Peter over the phone, so I think he does have some limited socializing experience, much like myself. But I think the fact he burnt down Initech gives me a hint that he is chaotic in some degree. So maybe he's not a big fan of bandits. He doesn't like being people who rob from others. So maybe chaotic good. So what he'll do, he's going to look to see if he can find some map or some compass to help him find his way up this mountain. And I'm going to roll for this. He's just looking around. We know the bandits are gone, busy doing something. So we're going to roll for him, just generally looking around. Protector staplers doesn't really impact here. A numbers guy, librarian, probably not. I think this is kind of out of his depth. He is just looking around. So we're rolling d6. Oh, 6. He finds something to help him find his way up the mountain. So that's good. Now, what else does he find? So I'm going to put these action dice here. I'm going to draw a classic and 2 classics. What does he find? Oh, he finds food and he has an idea. He knows he's going to burn down the bandit camp. So why not? He burns down. Little star there. I'm going to write that down. He sets the bandit camp ablaze. So burns it down. He is not a fan of bandits. So, about this part. He thinks it's a bandit camp. It could be. We can ask the Oracle. The fact he already burned it down leads me to think that maybe it's not a bandit camp. It could be. Let's ask. I can just decide it is, but let's just ask the Oracle. 80% chance it's a bandit, or 75% chance it's a bandit camp. Yeah, it is. Okay, I was tempted to say it wasn't, but yeah. But this could bite him in the stapler later on. So he leaves the camp. It's ablaze. He makes his way. With it being a 6, I believe that nobody saw him. If it was a 4, and I wanted to set it ablaze, he probably was able to set it ablaze. He maybe found some kind of direction, but he's still kind of lost. Perhaps he's narratively, or to us, he's going in the right direction, but he doesn't know it just yet. Maybe someone saw him, like, briefly. If it was a 3, someone probably saw his face, but he's too far to catch. That's how I interpret 3 and 4. Mixed. 3 is more of a negative mix. 4 is a positive mix. That's kind of how I'm interpreting that. So, Let's now make our way up the mountain, okay? Let's roll to see what happens. I'm going to get some new, let's actually use the Voyage dice. I haven't used that in a while. So, I'll use 2 Voyage dice, and this is after he leaves the camp heading up to that resort. Okay? There is a pot of gold, could be stew, could be food, and something odd. He comes across a strange scent, strange smell, really catches him off guard and makes him almost puke. So, a strange smell. Now, what is this strange smell? Let's roll with the classic dice. Ooh, books. You know what? Pyramid. It could be a temple. Maybe it is an entrance to a temple, or it could be something, some large structure that's giving off a very odd scent. Yeah, let's just say that. So it is a large uh, entrance. Let's say cave, because a smell, caves can give off that strange odor if there's like a carcass in there or something, or like feces, or it's some kind of little, it's a cave. And yeah, it's an entrance to a cave. And there's a smell, a strange smell, peculiar smell that really catches him off guard. But um, the book, this is something in his origin. So he is, for some reason, he's tempted to go in this cave. He's really curious what that strong smell is. Maybe it's not a bad smell. Maybe it's just it's a really strong smell. Strong smells can be like, oh, what is that? Like not like doesn't make his nose bleed, but it's like really strong. It's easy to tell that there's a smell in the air, a scent, a strange aroma. So, but using his smarts, I'm going to see how this goes. This roll is going to be a vague roll. What I'm going to do is roll d6 with his origin. He's going to go in this camp, or in this entrance. He's getting kind of sidetracked from his goal to get to the temple, or to get to his vacation. That's pretty much the whole goal of this one shot. He needs to get to a vacation. And you know what? Actually, no. I'd say he is on the run and he's escaping to resort. This takes place after Office Space, but in the fantasy setting. So we're looking at between the last scene of the hotel, he's on the Bahamas or Hawaii or whatever, and this takes place after he burns down his Initech. So in this Goblin Tech or something. So he's actually, this is after Office Space, after he burns down uh, his work. So maybe the guards are looking for him. Maybe we know Peter Gibbons knows about that. Peter obviously connects the dots that, yeah, this was Milton. He starts laughing about it. Bill Lumberg's demise was never actually, I know the deleted scene, I think, or the concept was that he died in a fire, but I think in the movie they don't really show what happened to Bill. So what I'll say is that this takes place after he leaves to the resort, and he feels like maybe he's paranoid that someone is tracking him or following him. So what we're gonna do, he for some reason sees this. Oh, he has a brochure. The brochure, he loves reading. Again, that's his thing. The brochure is mentioned. There's a lot of sites on the way up, and this happens to be a cave, and he's very intrigued by it. So what we're gonna do is roll to see how this goes for him. So roll. This will be 2d6 because this is just the general attempt and his book smarts. I can do a +1 here for the book for the brochure. That's an item he has on him. So it's the highest die +1. Oh, 4. Okay, so it's a positive mix. That I'm glad that that item helped. So +1. So the brochure, he's reading it. So it's a 4 total. And but something kind of happens a mixed result. So let's draw 2 dice from the classic, and we'll roll. Oh, I had it before. Let's re-roll here. So airplane, clock. Hmm. Well, obviously airplanes don't exist in he's flying. Oh, he sees a nest. This could be a cave to like some flying creature, like a pterodactyl or something. I don't know if this is primal. This could be like a large, like a griffin or something. So he stumbled onto a cave that is not very deep, but it's a cave, a nest for some mystical bird, some mystical Pokemon or something. So yeah, it's a cave with a nest. And this is like kind of blows his mind, and he's like, wow, maybe the brochure did mention the cave, like beware of the caves. And he was stubborn and he went inside. So it has a nest. I'd say just some, just say Griffin. I don't know if that's sure, why not? Peter Griffin. So he finds a Peter Griffin. No, I don't think there's a bird in there. Mixed results. The time he can hear the mixed result is like, yeah, he finds a nest. Maybe these eggs sell for a pretty penny, and he knows that. But he can hear some flying winged creature approaching, so he has to hide. That's the mixed result. That's how I'm interpreting it. So the Griffin is coming back. Yeah, the Griffin returns, and what we're gonna do is roll to see if he can escape or hide. This is not really a specialty. I think he got too curious like a cat, and now he's in trouble. So this would be 1d6. He's a big guy. Speed is not his specialty. He's just going to try to duck and hide in probably the cave. Let's see where he is. Is he in the cave? 50% chance. Yeah, he is indeed in the cave. Okay, so yeah, this will be a standard d6 roll. Here we go. This is just whatever happens, happens. Mixed. He hides in the cave, and the Griffin is suspicious. The Griffin can smell Milton's odor. And yeah, so now Milton is trapped in the cave. The Griffin's back, flew back in. Not good. Yeah, smells Milton. He knows. Okay, so what we need to do is roll. Milton's going to try to use his book smarts here, survival guide. Maybe he's read one up in the past. And he's going to try to throw a rock or distract the bird, or the griffin. So this will be a focus, or his origin. This will help. He's throwing like a, Agent 47, like throwing a coin thing. So here we go. Maybe he throws a rock. I'm going to say something from his inventory, but a rock I think gives a +1. Oh, 7. Okay, so there was a rule I had in mind. If you get a 7 with the modifier, obviously, you get an extra benefit. So not only does he escape, I'll put a little 7 here, but I want to give him an extra benefit. But he's able to snag one of the eggs. He's that. Would he do that though? Would that be in character? Does he snag one of the eggs to sell on the black market or something? I don't know. He did burn down a bandit's camp, so I think this is well within character. He wants to make money. He needs money. He wants to use it for the maybe he's short on gold pieces. He has enough to get into the hotel, the resort, but he needs some negotiating power here. Okay. So he does snag an egg. A griffin egg. That's pretty mean. Griffin's egg. Okay, I'm gonna write that in his not really an inventory, but I'll just put a little star here. A griffin egg. Okay, why not? So escapes, he gets out of there. The griffin's looking around, what was that noise? And then he's out of the cave. So that could have been bad, but I'd say that worked out. So now we are probably halfway there. Let's roll to see what happens. Up his way past that cave. He's probably, like I said, halfway there. I'm going to roll on using the voyage dice. Let's use these 2 dice here. Whoops. And then I can grab it. There we go. Okay, so let's roll our 2 voyage dice to interpret what happens from this halfway point to the, maybe to the, it depends on the roll, to the resort entrance. Okay, he finds some stash, and bacteria. Oh, it's like a mimic. No, it's a trap. So his curiosity got him again. He's very curious. That's okay. That's obviously a trend to remember. He's a very curious individual. He gets into trouble sometimes. Okay, so he finds a stash, but the bacteria is bad. So yeah, that is going to be a problem. Okay, so he finds treasure, a chest of sorts or some stash, but it is it's trapped or it's rigged or something. All right. So we're gonna roll to see if he can get out of this, and that will be 1d6. I don't know if I will include any modifiers here. So let's see what happens. Again, the roll really, oh, success. Okay, I'll take it. So he's able to get out unscathed. If he rolled a 3 or a 4, it probably would have been down 1 status. But yeah, he's able to get out of this predicament, whatever it was. We're really playing this macro, just this moment here. So I'd say check mark. He got through that. Again, he's very curious, very tempted by whatever this was. And now he is probably 50 yards away from the resort entrance. And I'm thinking the bandits can be an issue following here's suit. So here's what I'm trying to connect the dots. The two individuals we met in the beginning at the bridge are the same people that those bandits were. That's a yes. I was going to ask the Oracle, but I think that's a clear yes. So they all come back. The bandits acknowledge that someone burned down their village, their camp, and then the two from earlier, they're not the brightest of the group. They were given the simple job of just making sure no one passes through here without paying a toll. And they acknowledge, most likely to the bandit captain, the bandit king, that, yeah, well, there's this nerdy looking guy. He went up, and they say he's the only one that has passed through. So I'm going to say that the bandits know they are going to look for Milton. And this is happening in the background of everything. Milton doesn't know this. He knows burning down the bandit camp was just something he's doing for justice, but maybe just likes fire. Maybe he's a pyromaniac. I don't know. And anywho, the bandits, let's see how far off they are. Or we can roll for some classic. Let's do a classic roll here. I'm going to draw this one here and this key here. All right, and this will kind of interpret what happens. Whoops. That and a key. Okay. Yep. So the call is coming from inside the house. So the phone there, which I have to interpret, there's some method of communication between the bandits. Yep, that kind of concludes seals the deal right there. So the bandits communicate with each other that, yeah, someone came through and stole something, the key. So Milton took something, the map. I'm going to say he has a map on him. And I'll probably have to add it to my notes later on the rules there. Like, if you're tracking quest items, you can note it down or just call them notes. So they know that he stole something, and that's how I'm interpreting those 2 dice. So the bandits, let's see how far away they are. I'll roll D100. The higher, the closer they are. Yeah, they're pretty close. So Milton is like literally steps away from the main entrance, this large archway that says, "Welcome to Goblin Inn." And they find him and they shout at him, and Milton is stopped by them. A arrow like lands right in front of him. He turns around, the bandits are there, and it's maybe a handful of them or a few scouts that caught up. So I'm going to say bandits, let's see, they caught up and they corner him. So now it's a slight predicament. Now with 4 status, that kind of makes the game kind of deadly, not too deadly. But yeah, they're not going to let him through. So it's the same two, well, not the same 2 guys. Those guys probably got punished or tossed or tied up or whatever. The Bandit King probably punish them for failing, because he probably partially blames them for screwing up and letting this guy go through, which caused them to lose their camp. So they're probably killed. They probably got tossed in the sea of the fishes. So it's obviously going to be a handful of bandits that caught up, and they shout at him with arrows drawn, saying, "Did you burn down our village? Or did you burn down our camp?" Now Melon can try to lie here. Or he's mumbling. So let's roll a d6 for this. I think, well, no, actually, let's just roll the action dice, see what they do. That's why I have these dice here. What do they do when they see him? Okay. Yep. They try to... Okay, this is Milton right here. He's trying to walk into that archway that goes into the Goblin Inn. And they stop him with that arrow. And yep, they're going to... well, that kind of that summarizes what I just said earlier. But let's see what they do beyond that. Yep. Okay, yep. They are going to obviously get in the way. So, arrows drawn, they surround him, and they ask him, "Are you the guy who burnt down our camp?" Milton, obviously, is going to lie here, or he's going to mumble. They just don't understand him. But let's see what happens. I'm just going to roll a d6 here, and I mean, he can... I think earlier I confused book smarts with street smarts. So I don't think he's obviously street smart. So, but he feels threatened. And he's holding a stapler in his bag tightly. And he'll do anything to protect his stapler. So, maybe he feels like his stapler is getting threatened. And so we're rolling 2d6 here. See what happens. 3, 6. Okay, so how to proceed, how to interpret that success. Obviously, I don't think Milton can, like, go into some barbarian rage mode. Can he? What the hell? So, I want to talk about this moment here. So, remember, audience perspective. And commenters have mentioned, go with the most bizarre option. What if Milton does have some special ability that when he's surrounded feels like he's under pressure, I can sacrifice a stat number to go crazy and gives him some bonus. So, maybe he does have some kind of barbarian... Yeah, like like the Conan the Librarian joke from UHF, I think. So this is like some barbarian rage that make it like activate for like one session or something. This will be like ideally one session. So he activates it, and here's what we're gonna do. It sacrifices one status. This is just a complete house ruling of the moment, and I'm gonna roll to see if he can take out. Let's figure how many like bandits are. I'm gonna do like a d6 plus 2. 4. Fair. Okay, 4 is fine. That is like enough to surround him but not be overwhelming. So there are 4 bandits that he's up against. So 4 bandits. And with this like barbarian rage or librarian rage, what the hell? Maybe that's how he gets angry when someone doesn't return a book in time. So librarian rage. I love that. That's great. Librarian rage. Perfect. He's perceived to be this kind of weakling, oversized weakling, but you corner him, he gets angry. Especially when a stapler feels threatened. Maybe the stapler is sentient. Maybe it could be like some kind of oracle. So, he's going to fight back. This is a rare moment. I'm going to allow once for this entire session. Still debating that. Okay, so 1 die for the attempt. 1 die for protector staplers. And that additional plus 2. This is a assist. So here we go. 5, 6. The 4, I'm counting it, 5, 6. He's able to defeat them, maybe. Let's say he's able to defeat most of them. A 6 is a perfect. 7 would have been extra benefit, takes all of them out. A 6 is most of them. So he is about to like... His cooling off, like there's smoke coming out of his like ears and he's about to cool off his librarian rage. And the last bandit is like sitting there. I'm going to say that does sacrifice another status. I'm sorry, but I feel like that he's able to defeat most of them and there's 1 remaining. So I'm going to do that here. There's 1 timid remaining bandit who is like shaking in his boots. And librarian is like snaps out of it, or Milton snaps out of it. He's like doesn't know what just happened. Like he's holding a sword, kind of like from what's that Marvel show, Moon something, if I recall correctly, like where he had the dual personalities. So he doesn't know what just happened. He's like looking at himself. He's like, oh, what did I just do? What did just happen? Where's my stapler? And the bandit's like shaking, and he runs back. He runs away. So, well, let's see. What does the bandit do? Let's just roll this action here. Okay, so he like panics. He just saw Milton do all this crazy stuff, and he panics and he gives him all of his wares. He's like, "Okay, take my gold. Leave me alone." He runs back and starts. He cries back home. So the bandit flees and um, gives Milton like a bunch of just random stuff, just under some loot. Okay, so Milton's confused, but he's very tired, and he turns around. The resort's right there. So Milton doesn't really know what just happened. So I think the librarian rage, it knocks him out. Consciously, he's not there. He just turns into this monster that has to file all the books, Dewey Decimal System, properly organize all the books, and but now he's back to the resort. He goes to the archway, and he's at the front door. Let's roll to see what happens. I think we're about to finish this one shot, but I'm gonna roll 2 dice here, ones I hopefully haven't used yet. So I did use that one. Let's reuse 2 dice here. So I'm gonna use the arrow one and this lock. These are the classic dice. Oh, I literally just said what I grabbed, and there they roll. Oh. Okay, so he knows where to go, but the resort's locked. I think what happens here is a comedic ending. All of that just happened, but the problem is the resort has been locked down because of this bandits have occupied the main like pathway into the mountains. So because the bandits took over the area, the resort has been forced to close down, and it's been like this for months. So yeah, that's the predicament. Milton is standing there feeling like all this was for nothing, and I think I'm going to end it there for now. So we're done with the one shot, but I feel like Milton's just standing there helplessly, not helplessly, just in complete regret. He did all that traveling to escape the work life, and he dealt with some bandits, unknowingly stumbled onto their self-claimed land, but the resort is closed, and he just didn't realize that. He was so excited, that skipped his mind. So I'm gonna leave it at that. I think my time's a little short here, but I feel like that was worth it. I hope you guys enjoyed. We kind of had a boss battle, but at the end of the day, I wanted this to be a little playtest for my system, and I want to hear your guys' feedback. We had some combat, we had some looting, we had some exploration with the story dice, the story cubes. So that's it for now. Let me know what you guys think. I hope you enjoyed this 1K subscribe special. I can always return back to this story. Maybe I can expand it, but again, I didn't want to really put this certain little one shot into 2 or more episodes. But that is it for now, and I look forward to seeing your guys' feedback on the system. Please feel free to subscribe, like, share, and comment, and I'll see you next time. Thanks for watching.